What's going on, everybody? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. We have the Buffalo Bills Week 4 game for the Miami Dolphins coming up this Sunday. This is a little bit of a different preview than we're used to. Usually we do the live stream, and Donovan still did do the live stream. However, I was not able to make it, was out of town. I was actually in Seattle. I was at the Seahawks game last week. Instead of seeing the Dolphins game, I have season tickets. Got to miss arguably the greatest regular season game in Dolphins history, but it was okay. Still had a great time out of town. So just a little bit different here today for the preview. Just me going and talking about the Buffalo Bills. So when you think the Buffalo Bills, usually you think Josh Allen, and rightfully so, and we will get to Josh Allen. However, I do want to focus first on the defense. The defense has been playing absolutely superb. Destroyed the Washington Commanders last week. Sam Howell, 4 interceptions. Brian Robinson, nothing going. Held Terry McLaurin in check, and they just totally took apart that team whose offense looked really solid through the first 2 weeks. Now, I'm not a believer in the Commanders, but they did look good. They did look good, albeit against the Broncos defense, which then gave up 70 points a week later. But we know they have guys. They can spread the ball around a little bit. I don't trust the coaching staff. I don't trust Howell. But the weapons that they do have, I like. And holding them to 3 points was just absolutely insane, and are going to be a much tougher test than what we saw from the Broncos last week. Main man on defense is Matt Milano. He's had himself an incredible start to the season. 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, second on the team in total tackles. I'm sorry, that's actually Terrell Bernard. Terrell Bernard is their leading tackler, 24 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. Matt Milano still has those two interceptions, does not have the sack, 17 total tackles on the season. He is their best player on defense. You still have Tre'Davious White. Greg Rousseau hasn't quite hit the ground running, looking like we did make the better pick going with Jalen Phillips over him in the draft. But this defense has been the main story so far. And Josh Allen, while that first game against the Jets definitely caught a lot of people's attention, is Josh Allen regressing? Are we finally seeing the decline of him? He's without Brian Dable. Is the offense no longer working around him? And since that game, he's just been just fine. 72.7% completion percentage, which is, for Josh Allen standards, absolutely incredible. He's completing a very high rate of his passes, 6.6 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Those interceptions in the Jets game. So after that game, he started to come back around, and we're seeing the Josh Allen we're used to. He is running a lot less, only 12 attempts on the season, but he is their second leading rusher. He has 89 yards on the season, and that means he's only averaging 4 attempts per ball game. So the Bills are finally starting to get a little smarter when it comes to his usage, and realizing eventually, if he just continues to throw himself at other teams' defenses, that eventually his body is going to wear down, and he's not going to be as effective as a player as he is in his current state. So that is something that has reduced, and expect a little less of that than we've seen in years past. They finally do have that reliable running back, James Cook. I wasn't a big fan of James Cook coming into the season. I thought Damian Harris would get a lot more opportunities than he's had, but it has really just been the James Cook show. 267 yards. Hasn't gotten the end zone quite yet, but when you go from 267 to Josh Allen with his 89 yards as the second leading rusher, it's clear James Cook is the guy there in the backfield. 6.1 yards per carry is absolutely incredible. So I like where they're going. They had that scare week 1 against the Jets, but have definitely recovered the last 2 weeks, and is going to be one of the best matchups of the weekend, Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The defense, I think, is a little bit of a bigger story than the offense, but everybody who you expect to step up to the plate so far has stepped up to the plate. Stephon Diggs is still Stephon Diggs, 279 yards on the season, has a touchdown, 11.2 yards per catch. Gabe Davis, we've seen a little bit more consistency from him, 159 yards, but it's only been on 9 catches. So when you have Gabe Davis out there, it's really a home run shot or bust. He leads the team in receiving touchdowns with 2. They've only got into the end. They got into the end zone 5 times, passed the ball 4 times, throwing the ball. Other way around. 5 times passing the ball, 4 times running the ball. So the offense is stepped up from week 1. The defense has stepped up from week 1. And you're getting about as much as you can a full-strength Buffalo Bills team coming up on Sunday. And now we look at the current state of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they are the talk of the town. You're coming off of a 70-point game. You could have had the NFL record, opted against it. And just everybody is so hyperbolic about how this offense looks. Now you've added Devon Achane. I think it's how he wants to be pronounced now. Now he's getting to the mix. We didn't even see Waddle last week. He has now been fully cleared past the concussion protocol. He's going to be good to go on Sunday. So the Dolphins are going to have a full slate on offense. Still waiting to hear about guys like Jalen Phillips, his back injury. Still quite haven't seen whether he's progressed enough to come back onto the field. I think it was a good decision to hold him out last week. So interesting to see if he plays. But you can't talk about much else besides the offense. The defense is still bottom 10. It is a little bit concerning. Not a lot. There's still a lot of games to play, and we're 3-0. So being 3, I'd rather be 3-0 with the worst defense in the league than 0-3 with the best defense in the league. It's not quite getting the job done. Javon Holland has been an absolute stud, and that is our X factor on defense. We were looking at the defensive line and the pressure that they were causing early in the offseason, up until the first few weeks, looking at Jalen Phillips, looking at Bradley Chubb's going to be the guy that we traded for. But Javon Holland was our best defensive player on Sunday, getting those 2 really big fumbles on Courtland Sutton. You could argue he's the best safety in all of football right now. So I like where he's going. I think the biggest X factor for the Dolphins on Sunday is just the same guys last week, Devon Achane. Is he going to be the same guy that we saw? Now, I had my questions when it came to Achane, when we were looking at him, when we drafted him. He's small. Like, what's he going to look like between the tackles? But the role we assigned him last week is perfect. I mean, you guys had him on your fantasy teams. I guarantee he was on your bench. How many people realistically started him? 50 points. Got in the end zone 4 times. Raheem Mostert got in the end zone 4 times. So that rushing attack is just astronomically better than what it has been in years past. And in years past, the Bills have gotten a lot of pressure on Tua. We saw was it last year or 2 years ago, Matt Milano on the tackle that broke Tua's ribs, and then last year on the tackle that led to him getting his first concussion. I'll let you decide whether you actually think that was a concussion or not. I think it was, but they've gotten to Tua multiple years in a row, that protecting him has been one of the strongest needs on this team, and the offensive line has stepped up. A top 5 offensive line according to most offensive rankings, and they have absolutely stepped up. He's only gotten sacked 1 time. Very little amounts of pressure across that offensive line. All 5 guys, now adding Teron Armstead, has been an absolute blessing. So now you have, we've been tested through the first 2 weeks. Dolphins were tested. You go on the road to Los Angeles. You have to play against Bosa. You have to play against Khalil Mack. Then you go against the Patriots. The Patriots are going to come prepared every single game. Had a little bit of a fluff week against the Broncos. And now it's another legitimate team that the Dolphins have to take on. We knew this early part of the season is going to be very difficult. We got the Eagles not too long around the corner. And then we eventually have the Chiefs. But there is a little soft zone in the middle of the schedule. If we can leave these first 4 games that going into the Giants week up 4-0, that's perfect. Literally speaking, that's perfect. But metaphorically, to do what they did, this will be our 3rd road game in our first 4 ball games. Going on the road to Buffalo. Thankfully, don't have to go up there in the cold this time. Don't have to worry about a 4th quarter blizzard coming in. But going up to Buffalo, both teams are about as hot as you can be in the NFL. I mean, the points differential last week that the Dolphins and the Bills won by had to have been high 80s, low 90s. Just unheard of in today's game, that you have two teams taking on each other that the previous week nearly outscore their opponents by 100 points. That just doesn't happen. You're getting 2 heavyweights. Both teams are arguably at their peaks, and we only see where these 2 teams progress from here. But I'm very excited for how the game goes. Like I said, on offense for Miami, X Factor Devon Achane. What is his role going to be now that teams know what he can do? We always knew he was fast, knew he's elusive, knew he's hard to tackle, and you can literally lose him behind the offensive lineman, those 2 shovel pass touchdowns. What is he going to be now that teams know what he can do? Is Raheem Mostert still going to be the one? Is it going to be a 1A, 1B? What's his role going to look like? Let me know down in the comments what you want to see from Devon Achane. What do you want to see as his role? Do you want to see the main guy? Do you want to see him play second fiddle to Mostert? Or just go with the hot hand, which I think most people can probably agree with is a good idea. Javon Holland has been our best player on defense, so look to see him continue. Hope Jalen Phillips comes back. So I'd say that is our X factor on defense. You look over for the Buffalo Bills. X factor, I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. Now, I'm not a big believer in Gabe Davis, but he will have those explosive plays every now and then. If you don't keep a lid over the top on the defense, he can burn you deep. It's boom or bust. That's really all you're going to be getting from him. And then on the defensive side of things, Jordan Poyer, we almost got him in the offseason. Third on the team in tackles, still does not have an interception to his credit so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see his attitude, as he was somebody the Dolphins could end up getting, ended up passing on him, staying with the Buffalo Bills. Score prediction for the game. I'm not going to tell you guys that the Dolphins are going to lose. Come on, we don't do that around here. I'm going to go with Miami Dolphins taking the victory. I'm going to go with 27-20. Tua gets 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to say Raheem Mostert gets another touchdown. Raheem Mostert's arguably the best running back in football so far this year. Again, if he's on your fantasy team, he is the best running back in football this year. So continued success from him. Hopefully to continue to see Tua kept upright in the pocket. Offensive line staying as strong as it has early on this season. And start the season 4-0, 2-0 in division, winning 3 games on the road in our first 4 games would be incredible for this team. Let me know your score predictions down below. Thank you all very much for watching today. Please make sure to like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.